Welcome to news updates on Today Ghana News TV. We are live on the satellite via Twitch for our viewers in Eastern European countries and also on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Today Ghana News TV. We are also on anchor.fm/podcast at Today Ghana News TV. Now the headlines. Fuel prices in Ghana will go down by 15 pesos per litre effective April 1, 2022. President Akufo-Addo will present a message on the state of the nation to Parliament on Wednesday, March 30, 2022. We have these and other stories coming your way. My name is Edna Segbornya. In our first story, President Akufo-Addo will present a message on the state of the nation to Parliament on Wednesday, March 30, 2022. The presentation was postponed after it was scheduled earlier in the month. It was previously announced that the President's sessional address would be delivered on March 3rd. Majority Chief Whip Honorable Anodompre announced in Parliament the new date of the President's address. The postponement led to some criticism of the Akufo-Addo administration over the delay as it wrestled with a general economic downturn. The sessional address is constitutionally sanctioned and must be delivered in the first meeting of every session of the House. The address sets out the government's key policy objectives and deliverables for the year ahead.
His Excellency the President of the Republic is scheduled to deliver a message on the state of the nation on Wednesday, 30th March 2022, in accordance with Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution. Speaker, pursuant to the convention of the House, honourable members are urged to be punctual and accordingly be seated in the chamber latest by 9:15. Speaker, debates on the state of the nation. A motion to thank His Excellency the President for the message on the state of the nation will be moved on Thursday, 31st March 2022. The Speaker, in accord with the practice of the House, the Business Committee recommends some time allotment from honourable members to make their contributions.
His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo has announced measures to cap down restrictions of COVID-19 in the country. Speaking in his 28th live televised address to the nation, he mentioned the opening of land and sea borders and outdoor events.
So, from tomorrow, Monday, 28th March, the wearing of face masks is no longer mandatory. I encourage all of you, though, to continue to maintain enhanced hand hygiene practices and avoid overcrowded gatherings. All in-person activities, such as those that take place in churches, mosques, conferences, workshops, private parties and events, cinemas and theaters, may resume at full capacity as long as the audience and all participants are fully vaccinated. Hand washing and hand sanitizing points should be made available at these venues. Outdoor functions at sporting events, entertainment spots, political rallies and funerals may resume at full capacity, again, as long as all persons at those events are fully vaccinated. Government will continue to engage all religious and traditional leaders, agencies and institutions to encourage their congregants, subjects and citizens respectfully to be vaccinated to help achieve the 20 million target by June 2022. I'll also urge the media to support this campaign in full. Fellow Ghanaians, we had to impose measures to limit the importation of the virus into our country, especially as our first cases of the virus were imported through the Kotoka International Airport, KIA. Currently, the Kotoka International Airport only allows fully vaccinated passengers who are in possession of a 72-hour negative PCR test result prior to embarkation and have a negative antigen test on arrival, entry into the country. Ghanaian citizens and foreign residents in Ghana who are unvaccinated or not fully vaccinated currently are given waivers by the Ghana Health Service to allow them entry into the country through the Kotoka International Airport. They must also have a 72-hour negative PCR test result prior to embarkation, take an antigen test on arrival, and are offered vaccination. From tomorrow, Monday, 28th March, fully vaccinated travelers into Ghana will not take PCR tests from the country of embarkation to allow them entry into the country through the KIA, and will not be tested on arrival. Citizens and foreign residents in Ghana who are not fully vaccinated would, however, need to provide a negative PCR test result of not more than 48 hours. They will undergo an antigen test upon arrival at KIA and will be offered vaccination there. Ghana's foreign missions have been instructed to make vaccination a requirement for visa acquisition. It is worth noting that the establishment of the COVID-19 testing infrastructure at the Kotoka International Airport by Frontier Healthcare Services Limited at its own cost has been key to our ability to limit successfully the importation of the virus into Ghana through the airport. The efficacy of the testing regime at KIA has won global admiration and has been applauded by all those who have undergone its testing. It has been one of the reasons why Ghana was not at the receiving end of several of the travel bans imposed by the West at the height of the pandemic, for which many African countries were affected. As from tomorrow, Monday, the 28th March, all land and sea borders will be opened. Fully vaccinated travelers will be allowed entry through the land and sea borders without a negative PCR test result from the country of origin. Citizens and foreign residents in Ghana who are not fully vaccinated will have to produce a negative 48-hour PCR test result and will be offered vaccination on arrival. Fellow Ghanaians, it has been a difficult 2 years for all of us, and we're seeing light.
Okay, fuel prices in Ghana will go down by 15 pesos per litre effective April 1, 2022. This reduction will be in place for 3 months. This was disclosed by the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, on Thursday, March 24, 2022, while announcing these austerity measures put in place by the government to cushion Ghanaians against current economic shocks. To migrate the rising price of petroleum products at the pumps for the next 3 months, the government has decided to reduce margins in the petroleum price build-up by a total of 15 pesos per litre with effect from 1st of April, he said.
Expenditures alone will not be enough. Our focus is therefore twofold: to control expenditure and to raise more revenue domestically. As such, we will therefore begin the implementation and collection of the revised property rate by end of April 2022. We will implement the e-VAT, e-commerce, and e-gaming initiatives by end of April 2022. We will roll out a simplified tax filing mobile application for all eligible taxpayers by July 2022. We will impress upon Parliament to fast-track the passage of the e-levy bill, tax exemptions bill, and
in a sharp rebuttal, the Member of Parliament for Bogatanga Central, Honorable Isaac Adongo, has stated his disagreement with the Finance Minister over his new austerity announcement. The Boga MP, who is also a ranking member of Finance Committee in Parliament, addressed the media in Parliament House, and he has this to say.
That the Minister for Finance and the government are walking a very dangerous path. The cosmetics would eventually not just hurt the economy, but it will collapse the economy. No serious investor listening to the Minister for Finance will have confidence in what he said. And I don't know where they get those their maths from. Your current revenues and expenditure that was approved, you said will give you a deficit of 7.4%. You said you are cutting 20% of the budget for an appropriation of 145 billion. That gives you 29 billion Ghana cedis. You further say that you are going to cut non-discretionary expenditure by 10%. So the non-discretionary expenditures would mean infrastructure, which is 16 billion in the budget, plus the goods and services, which is 6 billion in the budget. The two put together gives you how much? 22 billion. And you are cutting 10% of that. That is 2.2 billion. If I add 2.2 billion to the 29 billion, which is the 20%, I get 31.2 billion. Your entire deficit is 37 billion. And that gave you 7.4. Yet when you cut off 31 billion of that 37 billion, you still get a deficit of 7.4. You understand what I'm saying?
Voodoo.
This is voodoo accounting. You cutting your expenditure by 31 billion out of a deficit of 37 billion, and you still get the same deficit of 7.4. Then in addition to that, you say you are increasing the revenue, but still your deficit will be 7.4. Quite clearly, these financial engineers thought that we didn't go to school. So we can't see voodoo and we can't see fraud when we find one. Two, I want you to go to the budget data, okay? Appendix 3.8, Summary of Central Government Operations. And this, you find it under page 232. Under page 232, they give you details of foreign financing of the budget. And the foreign financing of the budget, the total borrowing is about 12 billion. 7 billion of that is coming from project loans. That is not the 2 billion he's talking about. What he's talking about is what we call the sovereign. So you have the Euro bonds, term loans, green bonds, whatever they call them. All that put together is about 4.5 billion Ghana cedis. If you divide 4.5 billion Ghana cedis by the exchange rate of 7.5, let me give you 7.5. You get $600 million as the only foreign financing of the budget that the so-called 2 billion is allowed. So he's taking an additional $1.4 billion, technically telling you that after all that I told you, I'm going to increase my deficit by how much? $1.4 billion. Because that $1.4 billion is not accounted for in your fiscal framework. So you are cutting expenditure, and yet your deficit remains the same. You are borrowing more by 1.4 billion. You still want us to believe that even though that was not part of the original deficit, your deficit remains the same. Ken Oforiatta, we are tired of these numbers that you are cooking. And the investor community is very smart. He keeps blaming COVID and everybody. And Ukraine, Russia, and what have you. When he came to Parliament on the 17th of November, after he read the budget, the investor community gave a response. They moved away from the yield on our euro bonds from 11% to 15%. So Ghana lost market access on the very day he read the budget. It had nothing to do with future agitations over e-levy. E-levy agitation came several weeks later, by which time we had already lost market access. We had been declared a country at risk of debt distress for 3 consecutive years. We didn't have e-levy. So the mismanagement of the economy. Let me tell you why they are going to borrow this $2 billion. It is not to provide forex. As we speak now, government interest payment that is due in the next couple of weeks is in excess of $1.6 billion. And if government does not find that $2 billion, we will default in the payment of our interest cost. So that is the one they are looking for. And they want to throw away this budget in order that they don't default. So the people who need the dollars to go back to their home country because they are reversing their portfolios, they are not the reasons why he's looking for the dollars. The market women and men who need the money to import their things and to pay for their letters of credit, they are not the ones he's looking for the $2 billion for. They are looking for the $2 billion because the overborrowing and
Okay, so that is it for tonight. But before I go, I will read some of the Facebook messages. Okay, from Enoch Ofosumesa, watching you from Abokobi, the best news by all standards. Thank you. NDC Diaspora Union, Ekufu-Addo is a disaster of a president 2024 is just the corner. Okay. From Patience Darko, good evening, Edna. You are looking good. Watching you from Hamburg as always. Keep on doing the good work. Thank you, Patience. From Volunteer and Internship Service Ghana, Mahama and the NDC put pressure on Ekufu-Addo to open the borders. Okay. Odoitama. Now the borders are open for business activities. Opposition NDC should not talk about COVID-19 virus. Okay. From NDC Diaspora Union again, good evening. Thanks to the NDC and former President Mahama, our borders are open again. Okay. Okay, so thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to our social media platforms. That is YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch at Today Ghana News TV. My name is Edna Segbornya.